Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining today's stream news summary from Moscow program. And after news segment, it's a Saturday, isn't it? So let's have a little community chatter. Of course, tomorrow on Sunday we will have a big community chat, but we can exchange opinions after this news segment. Also, I'll try to make it little, short. Although there is quite a number of news actually that you know Russian media is focused on, and hopefully you will like news segment. You will find it interesting, informative, and if so, please like the video, dear friends. More likes and comments probably help to deal with the algorithm. And yes, it's a snowy day. By the way, this morning I did posted about it. I mentioned this on my Twitter X page and the Telegram channel. First snow here in Moscow for this season, which is nice, man. You should see my face this morning when I look at the window and it was snow and I was smiling. I don't know why. I'm southerner and I supposed to like summer more, but in reality, no, I don't like summer. I prefer winter, big time. It's great season, and so yes. Anyways, dear friends, if you want to support this project of mine, you can do it through several means. Links are on this video in description box and in the pinned will be in the pinned comment after live stream. And also you can use a super chat feature on Rumble or become a premium subscriber there. It's all up to you, of course. And okay, let's start the news segment without any further delay. And first of all, report about work of Russian air defense systems past night. RIA Novosti is reporting, based on Russian Defense Ministry's latest update, that 64 drones were intercepted by air defense systems on duty overnight since 11 p.m. yesterday, late evening, and 7 a.m. this morning. From these 64 drones, 25 drones were intercepted over the Ryazan region, 17 over the territory of Rostov region, 8 over Tambov region, 5 over the Voronezh region, 2 over the territory of Belgorod region, also 2 drones over the Saratov region, 2 drones over the territory of Lipetsk region, 1 over the territory of the Tula region, and also 1 drone over the territory of Samara region. 1 drone also was intercepted over the Tatarstan Autonomous Republic. So massive geography, quite a vast geography of this yet another attempt of NATO and NATO proxy regime to strike deep into Russian territory. But it is, as it is always the case, majority of incoming aerial targets were neutralized by Russian air defense systems. Although, as you know, dear friends, time to time some drones do manage to bypass air defense systems and cause some damage. And it is especially tragic when these incoming drones and missiles of NATO and NATO proxy regime are targeting residential areas in European part of Russia. But for now, we don't have any reports about any casualties or damage that was caused by last night's attack. If any update on that, I will share information about it in my next update. But as I said, there are moments when some drones actually managing to bypass air defense systems and struck not just residential area, but there are times when NATO and the Kiev regime are targeting Russian nuclear power stations, and this is happening quite often. Nuclear terrorism is definitely trademark sort of Western world. And yesterday we learned that Kiev regime, with assistance of NATO, tried to target Novovoronezh nuclear power plant. And we have this information that as a result of a drone attack on Novovoronezh nuclear power plant on the night of November from 12th to 13th, several power units were disconnected from the grid. This was stated by Rosatom's head, Alexei Likhachov, at the meeting with the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi in Kaliningrad. So yet another instance of nuclear terrorism on part of Western world. I'm 100% convinced none of the Western media outlets reported about this attack on Russian nuclear power plant. And you tell me if I'm wrong, dear friends. Have you hear anything in Western media, or have you read anything in Western media about this attack on Russian nuclear power plant, Novovoronezh nuclear power plant, that happened at the night from 12th to 13th of November? Of course you have not, because Western media is not reporting this kind of stuff, isn't it? Vzglyad newspaper, meanwhile, is reporting that, Azerbaijani foreign ministry handed a note of protest to Russian ambassador. You're going to find this story quite remarkable, I will say. The Azerbaijani diplomatic mission delivered an official note of protest to Russian ambassador Mikhail Yevdokimov. Their incident involving their shelling of the Azerbaijani embassy's Kiev residence was their pretext for the diplomatic demarche. Russian ambassador to Azerbaijan, Mikhail Yevdokimov, was summoned to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic, RBK reports. According to information published on their official website of Azerbaijani Foreign Ministry, the meeting took place on November 14th, 2025, that is yesterday. According to an official statement from the Foreign Ministry press service, strong protest was lodged with the Russian diplomat during the meeting. The protest was motivated by the crash of an Iskander missile warhead onto the ground of the Azerbaijani diplomatic mission in Kiev, which occurred during the nighttime missile and the drone attack on the Ukrainian capital at approximately 1 a.m. on November 14th, last night, by the way. A corresponding diplomatic note was presented to the ambassador in support of the protester. And, I did read a number of articles on this matter, and military experts were saying that based on some photos that emerged from the area where alleged Russian Iskander missile struck, military experts are saying that this was a Patriot missile, actually, not an Iskander missile. Otherwise, damage would be very different. But yet again, I'm not a military expert. I don't know. Let's wait what Russian Defense Ministry will say about it, if anything, and what Russian Foreign Ministry will say about it. Anything is possible. Not a past night, but a night before, Russian militaries were conducting relatively large-scale drone and missile strikes on the military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime, also energy infrastructure, including in Kiev, and in a environment where air defense system of enemy is working actively. It is well possible that some of the missiles were damaged, maybe drones, and they fell on a territory of Azerbaijani embassy. Things happen. In any ways, let's wait and see what Russian side will say about it officially. In any case, I don't think, even if it was Russian drone or missile, I don't think this was an intentional attack on Azerbaijani embassy. We all understand this, isn't it? But things happened yet again, and according to reports in Russian media, Russian military experts are saying that they cannot believe that based on the footage that they have seen, explosion was caused by Iskander, because in case of Iskander, there would be nothing left in the area, right? It will be not just a crater, but literally nothing left. But it is not the case. So therefore, experts are saying that most likely this was a Patriot missile. But yet again, let's wait and see. Meanwhile, dear friends, when it comes to developments on the battlefield, you know that Russian Air Force is advancing all along the front line, improving their positions literally on daily basis. And there is a very, very rare occasion when day goes by without reports on liberation of this or that settlement, isn't it? And for example, yesterday I reported about liberation of Danilovka settlement and also Snelnikova settlement. I reported yesterday also about liberation of Aristotle settlement, and well, literally a few minutes before I launched this live stream, TASS news agency reported, based on defense ministry, that Russian armed forces liberated Yablokova settlement in Zaporozhye region. And I guess you already are familiar with this name, Yablokova, because I have mentioned this settlement quite a few times in past few days, because reports were coming in about advances of the Russian armed forces in the direction of Yablokova and Ravnopolie after liberation of Novouspyanovskaya and Nove. And it was obvious that it was a matter of time, literally like hours, max days, and Yablokova will be liberated. And it is the case in regards to Ravnopolie also. Let me show you on the map the difference, these areas. So, yeah. This is Zaporozhye direction. This is Yablokova settlement, which is under Russian control now. Right next to it, on the northern side, is Ravnopolie settlement. And maybe today, maybe tomorrow, most likely Russian Defense Ministry will confirm information about the liberation of Ravnopolie. And we should expect similar reports in regards to Zatishye settlement, Vysokaya, Zelený Gай, and Veselaya settlements. These are only settlements left before Gulyai Polye on the path of Russian advancing forces from the east towards the west, right? When it comes to Gulyai Polye, by the way, yesterday I did reported that Russian, as a result of significant progress of the Russian armed forces in Dnipropetrovsk region, in Danilovka settlement area, and also in direction of Radosnaya, main supply and support line of Kiev regime's garrison in Gulyai Polye was cut, physically cut by Russian forces, and the local garrison of Zelensky's regime is now completely rely on supply and support lines that they still have left that coming from the western side. Not for long though, I guess, because once Russian troops will begin offensive operations towards Gulyai Polye itself, I expect simultaneously we to see advances of the Russian armed forces in direction of not just in direction of Orekhov 2, basically, which is in middle of Zaporozhye sector, right? And that will mean Gulyai Polye garrison will lose any supply and support lines whatsoever. So front line of Kiev regime, basically on the eastern flank of Zaporozhye sector, completely collapsed. And we should expect offensive operations in direction of Gulyai Polye literally at any time, maybe even today. Defense Ministry will report about advances of the Russian armed forces in Gulyai Polye direction, and I'm quite sure Russian DRGs already are operating in the vicinity of Gulyai Polye. Also, dear friends, I already mentioned Aristotle settlement that was liberated by Russian forces on the left bank of the Volchya River, and already number of sources are reporting on advance of Russian troops on the right bank of the Volchya River in a settlement of Velika Mikhailovka. And on Russian Air Force, Russian artillery is very active to neutralize enemy forces in Velika Mikhailovka. And most likely it would not take too long before Russian troops will liberate this settlement. Also, when it comes to Pokrovsk-Mirnograd direction in the DPR, well, more and more reports are coming in about finalized clearing operations in Pokrovsk city itself, in surrounding settlements. For example, in settlement clearing operation was finalized in a Rog settlement on outskirts of Pokrovsk. Inside the city, Russian troops still are conducting this clearing operation, checking every building, every floor, every roof, every underground facility. City is under Russian control, complete Russian control, by the way. When it comes to neighboring Mirnograd, Russian forces are advancing on both part of the city, on the southern part and in the northern part, advancing from the eastern side. And what is interesting, number of sources are reporting that Kiev regime allegedly began withdrawing its forces from Mirnograd, even Kiev-controlled propaganda elements are reporting about it, and I did not find any confirmation of these reports in the Russian segment of internet. But if you remember, I have said I did said a few days ago that I would not be surprised at all if we will find out that even though formally they should be like 3,000 to 5,000 troops encircled now in Mirnograd, around 3,000 at least, right? Maybe we will not see videos of hundreds of troops of Kiev regime surrendering because in order to minimize casualties among Russian troops, maybe maybe leadership of Russian military will make decision to allow. It would not be official. It would not be made official. Russian general staff not gonna say it openly, but maybe on the ground, Russian troops would allow these encircled forces to escape, to just leave their city, right? And one can understand the reasoning behind it. Of course, to neutralize 3,000 plus troops of enemy, well-armed troops of enemy, will take not just a lot of time, but you might suffer significant casualties also, isn't it, in the process? Maybe to allow these encircled troops morally destroyed, in many cases even physically exhausted troops of enemy to escape, maybe this would not be that bad of a decision. And in past we have seen several such instances, isn't it? Last time, for example, this happened in Kursk salient area, where reports were that thousands of troops of Kiev regime was encircled, and we did not see no videos of these hundreds of or thousands of Kiev regime's troops surrendering, as we see when Kiev regime's grouping of forces surrendering in Mariupol. And why is that? Because I guess decision was made, political decision, military decision by leadership, probably, this is just my guess, to allow, in order to minimize casualties among Russian troops, to allow these morally broken forces of the enemy to escape the encirclement. And it will take many, many months, by the way. Some might argue, well, what is the point? You have to fight these very troops in months' time, 2 months' time. You know what? It might not be enough, months and 2 months, to bring these encircled troops into their senses. Then many members of these encircled units of the Kiev regime may never ever be able psychologically to actually fight. So we have not been in such an environment, or we have not been under constant bombardment. We have not been in a situation when our comrades are dying left and right, and we are fearing for our lives literally every second of every minute of every hour of every day, right? As it is the case for Kiev regime's troops in Mirnograd, encircled Mirnograd. And you can, if you have not been in such a situation, neither you or me can even imagine horror that these troops are going through literally every second, right? And they're going to be so traumatized psychologically that they might never ever recover from that, not just in a month's time or 2 months' time, but ever, right? So therefore, from several standpoints, first of all, to minimize casualty among Russian troops, it does make sense, kind of, to allow these morally broken troops of enemy to escape. But yet again, I have not seen reports about withdrawal of Kiev regime's troops from Mirnograd on the Russian segment of internet. So maybe those reports on pro-Ukrainian or Kiev-controlled propaganda outlets are just fake news. Anything is possible, but I'm just sharing with you information what I have seen on internet, that, well, allegedly Kiev regime's troops are escaping from Mirnograd. I don't know. Possible. Also, dear friends, I have reported yesterday that Russian troops finalized clearing operation of Dronovka settlement in between Seversk and Liman. And there is another big settlement in between these two towns, which is Yampol. And if you take a look at the map, dear friends, even on this map, which is not really up to date, unfortunately, but even on this map, you can see clearly that gray zone, which means that certain these areas in gray zone are controlled by Russian forces, is increasing, isn't it? And around 30%, maybe more, of Yampol now are under Russian control. Settlement is clearly divided between the forces. Another area of encirclement of Kiev regime's troops is, of course, Kupiansk. And I have read literally like a few minutes before I launched this live stream report on one of the Russian media outlets that Kiev regime yet again tried to launch a counteroffensive from towards the Kupiansk to break into the city and create some corridor for encircled troops, but they failed again. This was a once again suicidal operation, and after losing significant number of troops, the regime's these units retreated, so they were unable to break into a city or to create a corridor, and this is not going to change. This is not going to change yet again if political decision is made, or decision by political and military leadership is made to yet again allow at least some of the units of Kiev regime from this encirclement in Kupiansk to escape. Well, maybe we would not see hundreds or thousands of Kiev regime's troops surrendering in Kupiansk either, right? But if such a decision would not be made, then probably in next week or two, I don't know how long this cleaning operation gonna last, but in next week or two, probably we will see videos similar to ones that we see from Mariupol. Anything is possible, and this is it for a short summary, dear friends. I remind you that if you want to learn some more detailed information about developments on battlefield, there are military channels, a lot of them actually, right, that are providing quite detailed information about developments on line of contact. I recommend those channels for that. And now let's continue with some other news. And for example, TASS news agency is reporting that according to Russian Defense Ministry, in past 24 hours, Kiev regime's forces lost more than 1,200 military personnel all along the front line, on all sectors of the front line. You can imagine level of intensity of the battles, right? When literally daily level of casualties on enemy side is around 1,500 military personnel, literally every day. That's the level of casualties on enemy side. And unfortunately, of course, there is casualties among Russian troops. Also significantly less, or at least 3-4 times lesser, I think, maybe 5 times lesser, but or number could be higher even. Recently, I watched on Sky News Australia, it was, if I remember correctly, a report where some Western military expert was talking about a casualty rate 9-1 in favor of Russian troops. So it's a significant difference, isn't it? So while Kiev regime is losing 9 military, Russian side is losing 1 military, and that was reported in Western media. Obviously, I don't know exact numbers, by the way. I don't know, and barely anybody knows, with the exception of few people in Russian political and military leadership. But in any case, of course, unfortunately, there is casualties among Russian troops also, but significantly less than enemies are losing. And to continue, dear friends, earlier I reported that. Well, due to hysteria in the Western world, because of this collapse that they are observing on the line of contact in Pokrovsk, in Volchansk, in Kupiansk direction, in Zaporozhye front, by the way, more and more voices being heard in the West calling for some decisive actions from on part of Kiev regime to deal with their manpower issue, because seems like and not unreasonably, seems like Western so-called elites and Western media is blaming lack of manpower. They are blaming lack of manpower, and they are explaining significant advances of the Russian armed forces with this issue that Kiev regime's armed forces are facing. And therefore, there are more and more loud voices that are calling Kiev regime to do something about it. And one of the directions that they're going to do something about it, with the assistance of Western elites, is to begin deporting people from the Western countries. Yesterday, I did share information about decision on part of Washington to begin deporting Ukrainians. Also, I reported that Germany had made decision to end preferential treatment of Ukrainian refugees. Merz, by the way, Chancellor of Germany, allegedly told Zelensky that Ukrainians should go home and join their military. And now we have this report that Moscow mocks Zelensky after Berlin asks Kiev to keep fighting age males inside the Kiev-controlled territory. So Merz, by the way, not just spoke about possible, not just hinted on a possibility that military age men can be one way or another, but eventually moved out of Germany to Kiev-controlled territory. But he also demanded from Zelensky to keep military age people inside, right, and basically sacrifice them. And the Moscow take a swing on that against Zelensky. The Russian Foreign Ministry has ridiculed German government's pleas to Kiev to keep fighting age Ukrainian men at home. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said on Thursday he discussed Ukraine's manpower problems with Vladimir Zelensky, asking him to ensure that young men, in particular from Ukraine, do not come to Germany in large numbers. Berlin also intends to downgrade the support for Ukrainian nationals granted protection in the country that of regular asylum seekers. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova posted Friday a sarcastic re-announcement of the conversation. Merz: "Here, Zelensky, take Ukrainians back from Germany." And Zelensky is answering, "Here, Merz, I lack their tools to get them killed in large quantities. If you send more weapons and money, we will close the borders and further lower the conscription age. Otherwise, expect a greater influx." Basically, Zakharova was mocking Zelensky and Merz also, right? These bloodthirsty individuals that are actually sacrificing hundreds of thousands of residents of Kiev-controlled territory, right? And sarcasm aside, and this is dark humor, of course, but nevertheless, sarcasm aside, that's exactly what they're gonna do. And I was telling you for how long now that they will come when Western countries will begin mass deportations of their military age males from Western countries, and they will come when Zelensky will and his regime, this Western proxy regime in Kiev, by the way, it does not really matter. It's Zelensky number one there or someone else. But I was saying they will come when this Western proxy regime in Kiev will begin sacrificing a younger generation people too, teenagers from 18, 19 to up to 25, younger generations up to 25, right? And unfortunately, that day is getting closer and closer. And the best those young people on Kiev-controlled territory can do is to run away as fast as they can and as far as they can, right? And the Europe may not actually be a safe place for them. But what they can do is they can go to Europe first, because border is open, right? And from Europe, they can try to come to Russia if they have no committed, if they did not committed no crime, by the way, right? No crime against civilians, no crime against Russia, they can come. And many thousands did this, right? They can come to Russia and be safe. If any country will not gonna deport them to control territory, then to be sacrificed in this proxy war that West is waging against Russia is Russia, exactly, right? And many will do this. I guess many people in Kiev control territory that are realizing what is going on and realizing that Europe or the Western world, collective West in general, is not going to be a safe place for them, not for a long at least. They might actually, especially ones that not been brainwashed, by the way, and didn't become Russia haters. Those normal people, normal ones, they definitely might think about such a direction, to go to Europe first and then to come to Russia. If they have not committed no crimes, by the way, they can come freely. They will have no issues, absolutely. And yet again, many thousands did. And I remind you, dear friends, that according to reports, 5 to 7 million citizens of Ukraine are living here in Russia, by the way, and many of them are receiving citizenship. I personally know one of my relatives from Ukraine that was living in Georgia for many years, by the way. He came to Russia and received citizenship literally in like 3 months' time. Of course, he undergo all the checkings and stuff, right? In his case, it was much easier because he was living in Georgia like decade plus, right? So he clearly had nothing to do with either Zelensky's regime or anything like that. But nevertheless, it was a very rapid process, this checkup, right? And he received citizenship. That easy, you know. Let's continue with some other news now. And well, on this very matter, by the way, that Zakharova spoke in her sarcastic comment, well, we have this report that Berlin approves additional 3 billion for Ukraine aid package in 2026. This is just for 2026, by the way, bringing total for the next year, total aid from Germany to 11.5 billion euros. This was reported by Politico. This is Germany's highest annual amount for Zelensky to date. And well, by the way, you tell me how much good could be done with their 11.5 billion euros for Germans, man. And even though Germany is a rich country still, it's a rich country. Yes, German economy is in decline, but nevertheless, it's still number one economy in EU, right? And in European part of Eurasian continent in general, Germany's economy is bigger than France and bigger than UK's economy still. But even though Germany is rich, many people are experiencing some difficulties. And we can all imagine that with 11.5 billion euros, hell of a lot could be done for those people, for Germany, generally speaking. But local government is preferring to allocate this money for this most corrupt freaking regime in let's say Europe's history. Was there any other regime that is as corrupt as Zelensky's regime? And I don't know. They clearly are among top, isn't it? And it is absolutely insane when this information is coming right now, when there is a tremendous corruption scandal is going on in regards to Zelensky and his inner circle, isn't it? And there are people still, and on the topic, by the way, of Ukrainians in Europe, to finalize this matter, well, we have this report from RIA Novosti that Poland has been helping Ukrainian refugees for their past years, but have no plans to do so for the future, according to Nawrocki, president of Poland. So Poland has extended aid to Ukrainian refugees for only 1 more year. Nawrocki announced during the meeting with the voters, and this is quote, I signed the law on aid to Ukrainians for the last time. I believe that already in the third year since the start of the war, Ukrainian minority in Poland should be treated equally to all other minorities, all other national minorities, he said. And so, yes, after Germany, Poland is trying to do the same, bring down whatever aid they are providing to Ukrainian refugees, and they will implement stricter and stricter rules to force as many people, as many military-age Ukrainians as they possibly can out of the country into Ukraine. And we'll understand they're going to fail, by the way. If they will stop providing any aid whatsoever for Ukrainian refugees, they're not going to go back to Ukraine, man. Very few may be, but vast majority will not even think about being sacrificed for geopolitical agenda of the West. So therefore, it's only a matter of time. Just mark my words. It's only a matter of time, and globalist controlled regimes in Europe, in Poland, Germany, all the other countries, they will come up. They will come up with their justifications to begin mass deportations of the military-age Ukrainian citizens of Ukraine to the Kiev-controlled territory. Probably it's only like months or 2 months away when they will begin mass deportations, I think. And they're going to come up with some justification, man. They will come up with something, right? They will say it's for democracy or something like that. For humankind, they're going to sacrifice those Ukrainians, right? For all the mankind. And that, who's going to challenge them anyways, right? They can say any bullshit. They can come up with any freaking nonsense to justify the sacrifice of hundreds of thousands of Ukrainian refugees, and no one gonna challenge them anyways. So they can say literally anything, right? Well, I mentioned, isn't it? I mentioned that there is a corruption scandal on the Kiev-controlled territory. It's a little money that is being discussed right now compared to what was stolen by Zelensky's regime and his Western associates. Currently, this Ukratom, or whatever their name is of that company, they are talking about some $100 million, by the way, which is peanuts, right? Which is peanuts, man, compared to tens of billions that were stolen from those hundreds of billions that were allocated by the West for this proxy war that they are waging against Russia. And in Western media, in alternative media from all over the world, there still discussions are ongoing about what is the behind of this scandal, because everyone understands this NABU, Anti-Corruption Bureau, is a Western control. It's a Western institution, right? And everyone is wondering what is actually behind this whole process. And there are different opinions being exchanged, right? Different takes on the situation, and I have not seen anybody for now, at least, even in alternative media, by the way, that to share my take on the situation. And my take is quite straightforward, which is that Kiev regime is facing, or globalists, by the way, Western elites are facing what for them number one problem when it comes to this proxy war? It's manpower, right? It's a manpower. They can provide their Kiev regime, they can continue providing money and weapons and that kind of stuff, right? But what is the number one problem that they are actually dealing now? It's a manpower. And I think this corruption scandal is linked exactly to the manpower issue. They're not going to get rid of Zelensky now, by the way. They will get rid of Zelensky. I mean, Western elites will get rid of Zelensky sometime in the future, right? Maybe this, maybe in the spring 2026, or maybe in the summer 2026, or maybe he will stay in, they will keep him in presidential office for entire 2026 and only will get rid of him in 2027. Who knows, right? Eventually they will take him out. I don't think they will even allow him to run to Israel, right? Probably they will take him out because he might start talking, right? And Western elites don't really want that. So to silence him, they will take him out and blame Russia for that. And this is inevitable. It's only a matter of time, but they're not going to take him out right now. They're going to force him to lower this forceful mobilization age from current 25 to potentially 18, or at least to 2022. Right? That's what they're going to do about it. Simultaneously, Western countries, one after another, already are demonstrating where their stand is in regards to Ukrainian refugees in the West. They want to deport them, right? They want to create an environment in which either some will decide to go to control territory on their own, or just mark my word, it will not take too long before Western governments will begin mass deportations of the military age Ukrainians, right? And this corruption scandal, by the way, is linked also to this topic. Lowering manpower issue and lowering mobilization age, and they're gonna force Zelensky 100%. They're gonna force Zelensky to take actions in near future, in near weeks time, in next 1 to 3 weeks, and this is gonna happen. This is gonna happen, by the way. That's what all this corruption scandal is all about, because 100 million, really, it's just a message for Zelensky that, you know what, either you are doing what we are telling you and go and lower the mobilization age, or we're going to take you out. We're going to destroy you completely, right? And when everyone will despise you and no country will open its borders to you, even Israel, then we're going to kill you. That's the message, basically, right? That Washington, in this particular case, or the collective West, is sending to Zelensky. And you think what he's gonna do? Of course, he will lower the mobilization age and he will begin sacrificing teenagers on Kyiv-controlled territory. And that's why I'm saying, hopefully those young people will manage to either hide well enough so that they could not be found by recruiters after this terrorist regime of Zelensky, or hopefully they will run away from Kyiv-controlled territory somehow to save their lives. Let's continue, by the way. And just recently, like a few days ago, I reported, isn't it, that decision was made by Brussels to basically create barriers for Russian citizens to visit the Europe. Kaja Kallas even come up with statements that, according to her, traveling to Europe is a privilege, and Russians should be grateful that they being given a visa, this attitude, man, unbelievable. And you know what, when this information become known, that Brussels is actually demanding from EU member states to no longer issue multi-visas for Russian citizens, I said straight away, if you remember, that I think Moscow not gonna mirror the action of their hostiles, right? And Moscow should not create any issues for Westerners to get Russian visa. And I guess I was correct, because that's exactly the decision that Moscow made. Russia won't retaliate in kind over EU's ban on Schengen visas for Russians. Russian Foreign Ministry stated they're unacceptable to punish foreign citizens for their citizenship, nationality, or political and religious beliefs. That's the Russian stand, absolutely correct stand, by the way, right? ordinary citizens from whichever Western countries should not be blocked to visit Russia if they want to, just because they have insane freaking governments, right? This is correct approach. Just because their governments are crazy, why should we punish for that ordinary citizens there? So I can understand that there is no queues, and at least for now, there are no millions and millions of people in the Western world that are like planning to come to Russia. There are thousands, though. There are thousands, tens of thousands, most likely, maybe even like hundreds of thousands, because West is big, man, relatively. But nevertheless, decision is right. That was my take straight away, that we should not ban Westerners to come to Russia. Exactly opposite should be done, and more Westerners should be encouraged to actually visit Russia and learn about Russia, firsthand. Just come to Russia, see what is going on, see what kind of attitude people have towards ordinary citizens from the Western countries. They're not going to experience no hate, no negativity, nothing, right? If they act normally, they will receive absolutely normal, respectful, attitude. And so, yes, great decision on part of Russia. So if any member of our community from the Western countries were planning to visit Russia and were afraid that Moscow might retaliate in kind and stop issuing visas, no, it's not happening. It's not happening. Visas will be available for anybody and everybody. And hopefully more people will come. And this is absolutely necessary, because based on this insane Russia hate propaganda in the West, I can imagine that some Westerners, many Westerners actually, maybe even majority or vast majority, are probably truly believe that we here are some sort of, I don't know, monsters, by the way, and dream about attacking Europe, attacking Western world, occupying whole planet, and then occupying whole solar system, and then galaxy, and then neighboring galaxies, and then whole freaking universe, and then multiverse too. But actually we don't, man. We just want to be left alone, right? And that's about it, right? As long as the West is not generating no threats for us, then we are good, man, right? But when they are hostile, they are generating certain hostility from our side too. But yet again, we are talking about hostility from our side towards Western elites. Even me, by the way, that is quite hostile towards and I never shy away, isn't it, to share my takes. I'm hostile towards Western elites. I have no issue with ordinary people, by the way. I mean, what ordinary Swiss people did to be hostile towards them? Why should I? Right? Yes, you might argue that they also did not do anything to stop their crazy elites in the West, which is true. Vast majority did not do nothing, right, to stop their crazy elites, and eventually they will pay price for that. Everyone, by the way, will pay price for everything they did and everything that they should have done, but they refused because of whatever reasons. Right? That's how life works, man. I'm gonna pay for everything I did and for everything that I should have done, but I did not for whatever reason. And this is true for all other human beings, right? Westerners, Easterners, Southerners, Northerners, whomever. So it is what it is. Meanwhile, so yes, good decision on part of Russian Foreign Ministry. I did not even expected anything else. We are not building no freaking iron curtain. It's a Western world that is building iron curtain and all sorts of barriers, right? To cut communication between West and Russia. And well, okay. I mean, what we can do about it, man? You tell me. Meanwhile, RIA Novosti is reporting that Trump announced, once again, imminent nuclear tests. So United States will conduct a nuclear test very soon. President Donald Trump announced very soon. He answered the question of the matter, but declined to say whether the United States plan to detonate the warhead during the tests. So yes, Trump is still confused, maybe, and the reports are coming in, and I'm saying he's probably still confused because there is more and more reasons to believe that when he was briefed about successful tests of Russian next generation weapon systems, nuclear powered weapon systems, also nuclear capable, probably Trump misunderstood what he was told about. Maybe he was thinking that, well, Russia is testing nuclear weapons. And that's why probably he wrote on his Truth Social that US gonna go ahead and do some nuclear tests. Probably he was briefed again after that Russia is not testing no nuclear weapons. No other country does, right? And US should not do it too. But nevertheless, you see, he continues to say, well, we're going to do nuclear tests. We're going to do nuclear tests. And we have this report, for example, from CNN, by the way, that Department of Energy officials are going to meet with Trump's administration, in White House, with White House, basically, to tamp down Trump's idea of explosive nuclear testing. So U.S. Secretary of Energy Chris Reiter, the head of National Nuclear Security Administration, Brandon Williams, and officials from the U.S. National Laboratories will meet with the representatives from the White House and their National Security Council to pursue them not to resume nuclear weapons testing, CNN reports, citing sources, so at least someone understands. In leadership of US, in this particular case, Energy Secretary of Energy or Energy Department, National Nuclear Security Administration, and some laboratories, representatives of some national laboratories, that it's a bad idea to begin nuclear weapons tests, and hopefully they will succeed. Hopefully they will succeed to explain the situation to White House, right? Because if they fail, by the way, and if Trump will insist that US should detonate nuclear warhead, actually, then, well, all the other countries will begin doing the same, right? Well, in case of Russia, by the way, I'm quite sure Russia not going to get engaged in a nuclear arms race. Russia already demonstrated that focus of Russian militaries is on the next generation of delivery vehicles, because Russia already has enough freaking nukes, man, right? Enough, like more than anyone else. Trump loves to say that US has the most nukes, right? More nukes than anyone else, but in reality, it's Russia. Russia has more nuclear warheads than US and any other country. So there is enough freaking nukes. And of course, it will make more sense to invest in delivery systems, more and more advanced delivery systems, to make sure that if that unfortunate, tragic hour comes when Russia has to launch nukes, those nukes will reach targets, right? But it's a very different story in regards to China, by the way, in regards to India and Pakistan. Once US will go ahead with nuclear testing, I'm quite sure China will do the same. Russia will also conduct nuclear tests, but will not participate in a nuclear arms race. But China will also do the tests and will participate in nuclear arms race, and already does, kind of, right? China is adding more nuclear weapons to its nuclear arsenal, than any other country. More than Russia and US, though, right? And the explanation is quite understandable. Russia and US have thousands of nukes. China, not yet. Not yet. According to some reports, by 2030, China might have 1,500 nuclear weapons. Some sources on internet, some open sources suggesting that China already has like around 1,500. I doubt though. I don't think they do. But by 2030, they might reach that threshold of 1,500 nukes, even higher. And at that point, if now anyone has doubts that China and US are on the level of guaranteed mutual destruction, then once China has 1,500 and more nukes, well, there is no more questions on the topic. China and US will be equal, right? Because after 1,500, 2,000 nukes, it don't really matters how many more nukes do you have, right? That, if a war happens and nukes are launched, it's a guaranteed mutual destruction anyways, right? And let's also keep in mind that even if China and US will go ahead with their war and even nuclear exchange, most likely this will not end just on China and US, because based on modern technologies, US nukes are designed, and US bases and their US submarines, by the way, their patrol zones are on the north, right? And when they will launch their missiles with the nukes, of course, Russian militaries will detect it. And even if US is targeting China, those nukes gonna fly over Russia. And there's no way any Russian leader gonna say, you know what, it's not about us, let's do nothing about it, or it's about China. No, because you cannot know. You cannot know. US representatives might call you like million times and tell that we are not targeting you, we are targeting China, but you cannot trust them. So once you detect launches of the missiles that are coming from the other side of the planet through North Pole, well, you know that, you have to launch your missiles. So Russia will launch missiles towards US even before those American nukes will hit China. And of course, China will then launch too, right? And it's end of everything at that point. So it is what it is. So let's see what is going to happen, by the way. And I did not say nothing about India and Pakistan, isn't it? India and Pakistan probably would love to conduct nuclear tests, man, because they have a much lower number of nukes than China. Maybe not even 100 either for now, or maximum around 100, 150. So they would probably love to do more nuclear tests to further develop their nuclear arsenals, right? So if US goes ahead and detonates nuclear warhead, well, nuclear arms race is on for sure. We are not participating in it. We we are staying away, but others will participate. Also, dear friends, and you know what? Let me check the chat, by the way, to make sure there are no issues with the sound. So no comments from you, dear friends, about some sound issues. So therefore, I guess everything was good, and I will continue. And what else do I have there? It's 1 hour already. Okay, it's 1 hour already, and reports are, dear friends, that Trump allegedly prepares Article 5 style defense guarantee for Saudi Arabia against Israel's attack. This information is originated by Axios. And the agreement can be signed when a ruler of Saudi Arabia, MBS, will visit White House on Tuesday, next Tuesday, and so, well, that's quite interesting. Relatively recent strike of Israel on Qatar definitely shake up the things in among leadership of Gulf states, isn't it? Those kingdoms. Probably Qatari leadership was thinking, and all the others, by the way, Saudi leadership, UAE leadership, that just because they are, uh, uh, they are good consumers of U.S. weapons, U.S. military industrial complex, just because they are on good terms with Washington, uh, they've been secured from, let's say, assassination attempts by Israel or Israeli strikes. But they realized after Doha was targeted by Israel, capital of Qatar, they realized that, well, they have no guarantees, man. Israel can do whatever they want, actually, and kill anybody they want, right? And US not going to protect them. And I guess this panic among these elites, Middle Eastern elites, so-called elites, by the way, um, this hysteria is causing some trouble in Washington too, because they don't want to lose control over these Middle Eastern countries, right? And one of the ways they come up to calm them down, sort of, is this nonsense that they're gonna provide Article 5 style guarantee against whom? Against Israel, man? Really? I mean, if Saudi leadership is that stupid that they believe that U.S. will do anything against Israel if Israeli leadership will decide to obliterate their entire freaking Riyadh. I mean, if anybody in Saudi leadership is actually that stupid to believe that US will do anything against Israel for any reason whatsoever, then you know what? I don't know, man. They should be replaced by people. That's how it is, man. Because those people of Saudi Arabia that live in Saudi Arabia clearly deserve better leadership. If whoever is in charge there actually believes that US will defend them against Israel, man, are you kidding me? US will support Israel, bombing you and killing you, if anything, right? But anyways, that's their idea. Seems like that Washington come up with that. They're gonna give now these Middle Eastern countries that are basically client states of US this Article 5 style guarantee. Article 5 from NATO, by the way. Article 5 style guarantee of security, which is freaking laughable, man. It's a nonsense, right? Whole world gonna laugh at MBS if he will actually sign that kind of nonsensical paper. But he might, because they are freaking afraid, man. They are in the pocket of the Western elites, right? They are controlled by Western elites big time. And this is the case since the creation of these kingdoms, man, right? And I don't think this is going to change anytime soon. They had a chance, man. Saudi Arabia, UAE, others had the chance to get closer to, let's say, BRICS or some BRICS member states, to distance themselves year, not straight away at once, but year after year after year from the West, diversify their assets that they have in the West right now, in most of it at least. But they missed on that chance. So seems like they live their lives as slaves of their Anglo-Saxon elites, and they're gonna die as slaves of the Anglo-Saxon elites, man. That's their fate, right? And they're gonna also pay Anglo-Saxon elites a big buck. They're gonna pay simultaneously, and they will, because during the MBS's visit in Washington, probably a contract will be signed on deliveries of F-35s to Saudi Arabia. Each plane will cost her 100 million. This plane is going to be significantly downgraded, by the way. They're going to be no any better in any shape or form, by the way. They're not even going to be stealth. Lockheed Martin will make sure that those planes are not stealth, so Israel will have no issue detecting them, obviously, right? Well, Saudi Arabia going to pay for this garbage 100 million each of these garbage. And the reports are that they might buy like 40 plus planes, and overall volume of contract in money wise going to be in tens of billions of dollars, right? So you see, these so-called elites in the Middle East, yet again, they live their lives as slaves of their Anglo-Saxon elites, and they're gonna die as slaves of the Anglo-Saxon elites. There is no other way around it, man. They're not gonna break free. They had the chance, though. They had the chance, but to use that chance, they should start working 10 years ago. Not even 5 or 3 or 5, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when already there was good enough indicators that the world is changing and changing fast, and global south is developing, right? But they missed on that opportunity, and now they're gonna live as slaves and die as slaves. Also, interesting stuff is happening in US. I mean, civil war among Republicans is clearly becoming something that makes headlines even all over the world, actually, in Russia too, right? And US President Donald Trump went after Margaret Taylor Greene. He mocked her, right? And for whatever reason, he went also to say that if not him, there would be a war between US and China, which is crazy, man. I mean, Trump clearly has some cognitive issues, isn't it, and intellectual issues. I mean, he was never intellectual, okay, but I mean, he is getting dumber and dumber. I mean, really, right? He was a very dumb person, anyways, always, but he is just getting too freaking dumb as time goes by. So something is happening with this creature, man. I'm telling you. So let's listen what he had to say about MTG, Margaret Taylor Greene. And I'm not big fan of Margaret Taylor Greene or anyone, by the way, from U.S. political class. I don't care about any of them, right? But what I do know is that few days ago there was reports that Israel wants a 20-year agreement with US about prolongation of this financial and military aid that Israel is receiving from Washington. And Margaret Taylor Greene opposed that idea, I believe, and she's also quite critical of influence of AIPAC. Right, she has said some stuff that Israeli lobby not going to be happy about it, and probably this is the reason. And she also was demanding, even before Trump get elected second time, she was on a page of demanding release of Epstein files, and she's vocal still on the matter. And probably all this stuff together combined was enough to basically initiate hostility with the Trump. And yes, Trump went after her big time. And let me give you some short video, by the way, of that statements of Trump.
And by the way, I stay home 98% of the time. The last thing I want to do is travel 22 hours in an airplane, as nice as this plane is. So, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not anyway, I mean, she is a very different thinking than I have. Something happened to her over the last period of a month or two where she changed, I think, politically. I think that her constituents aren't going to be happy. Already, I have people calling me. They want to challenge her to a race in her district in Georgia. And, you know, that's too bad. She's lost a wonderful conservative reputation. But when she says, don't go overseas, if I didn't go overseas, we might be in a war right now with China.
What is he talking about, man? I mean, honestly, Margaret Taylor Greene, yet again, I don't really pay much attention to US domestic politics, but because I'm in this field of news and political commentary, of course, I read a lot of news about US internal stuff too. And I mean, from what I know, this person, Margaret Taylor Greene, didn't change a bit. I mean, she's quite same person now than like a year ago or two. But can we say that about Trump? Before elections, before inauguration, he was saying practically the same as Margaret Taylor Greene, and now he's actually saying the opposite. He's engaged in this cover-up operation around the Epstein files. He bombed Iran on behalf of Israel, right? And I mean, he is the opposite of everything that he was saying that he's gonna be, while gaining support of America First people. So what can I say about it? And what about this end of this video when Trump said that if not him or his travels, US would be at war with China? I mean, what the hell? What he's talking about? What he's talking about? Does he understand that he is a president and you know, words of presidents have meaning? Words, in generally speaking, have meaning, but you know, especially when you are a president, when you say stuff, you know, people are listening because you represent nuclear superpower. And he is saying that US would be at war with China, and how world should react on these kind of statements, man. Insanity, man, insanity. Right? So yes, in US, by the way, there is a entire war, right? Anybody that criticizes Israel or demands from Washington, America, and Americans to be first, and everything else after that, all of them being ostracized, designated as enemies, designated as drifters, as leftists even. You know, I believe Trump called lefty. I mean, seriously? Seriously? And it's not just Margaret Taylor Greene, by the way. I mean, look what is happening among conservative influencers. You know, there is an entire war campaign is going on against Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, even Megyn Kelly. Even Megyn Kelly being targeted now, right? And she is always very neutral. I mean, she definitely tries not to take sides or stuff, isn't it? Even in that war between Shapiro and Carlson, I mean, she's saying that, you know, she's friend with both, and recently she had her like interviews with both, with the audience, and she even spoke about like helping them to like reach out to each other and resolve whatever issues they have. And nevertheless, because she is not attacking Carlson or Owens, now she is being attacked and called like usual stuff. It's crazy, man. It's crazy what is going on in US. Anyways, let's continue with some other news. So probably yes, it's, you know, neocons, White House neocons, and the rest will do whatever they can to get rid of the opposition, right? Get rid of the people, influential people in America First movement, because they are not about America First. They give no damn, man, about Americans. And they have demonstrated that million times, right? And they are realizing now that this America First movement is actually becoming a thing, and they're gonna decimate this movement. They're gonna try, and how they're gonna do it? They're gonna target leading voices in America First movement. If they succeed, by the way, U.S. citizens may never ever have a chance to at least try to reclaim their own country. But yet again, none of my business. Let the American citizens figure it out, man. What else do I have here to share? Well, when it comes to one of the reasons why these America First people being attacked, leading voices, is their critical attitude towards actions of the Israel, right, and Israeli influence over their U.S. policies. And we all know from where this influence is coming from all sorts of spy operations, criminal operations, blackmail operations that the Israeli secret services are engaged, isn't it? And one of such operations that we all know about is Epstein operation, right? And Trump and his inner circle, his administration is involved in a cover-up of this Epstein story. They are involved big time. And instead of releasing all the documents to end speculations on the matter, they are digging themselves deeper and deeper, right? And for example, Trump went to order a probe into Epstein's ties with Bill Clinton. Okay. I mean, Bill Clinton is a disgusting creature. We all know this. I mean, we all know this even before Epstein, anything was known about Epstein. Everybody knew Clinton was a disgusting creature, right? And no one gonna be surprised if there will be revelations of criminal, disgusting behavior of Clinton on Epstein Island, right, or elsewhere. But why Trump is not ordering to release all the documents so that public in US and worldwide will actually know what was going on? Why not release all the files? It's a legit question, isn't it? So they are not releasing these files because it's not just Clinton and many other representatives of so-called Western elites that were engaged in that crime. But Trump too, by the way. I have no doubts that Trump was engaged in criminal behavior. Trump was a part of that Epstein ring, right? I'm quite sure there is materials in Epstein files that will make it clear that Trump is no any less disgusting creature than Clinton is or Epstein was, right? And that's the only reason and the only logical explanation why these documents have not been released. If you have any other explanations, please share. But let's be real here, So that's what is going on. That's the kind of people that are in charge of Western world. And Israel knows this. Israeli secret services use this knowledge, set up traps for all these so-called elitists of the West, or public figures or politicians or whatever. And through blackmail, they have opportunity to, use them any way they want. And it's not just politicians. It's not just politicians, and it's not just Epstein operation, by the way. How many other operations Israeli secret services are engaged in that we have we know nothing about, right? Can you imagine how many other similar or even worse operations are in place implemented by Israeli secret services? Epstein operation was directed mainly on political elements and figures that are close to finances, big business, political class. Probably there was another operation that Mossad is orchestrated that was targeting, let's say, influencers. Is that a possibility? Yes. Other public figures that could be targeted? Oh, yes. Why everybody, almost everybody, is afraid to say any critical word about anything that Israel does? Why they are afraid so much, sir? Because they've been set up, they've been blackmailed there. You know, many, not all public figures in the West, but many of them, right? So yes, why not release all the documents, man? Otherwise, yes, this it will be good if public will see information about how disgusting this Clinton is, right? But just release all the files and let the world see that all of you are freaking disgusting. All entire Western elites are disgusting, because they are actually, right? So let the people know this. But no, man, they are not doing it. And when it comes to Israeli influence, by the way, and I said many times before, isn't it, that everyone that thinks Israel is an American proxy is mistaken. It's a US that is a tool in hands of Israel, Zionists, globalists, neocons, and there are a couple of other tremendously influential groups, right? US is not controlling nothing. US is being controlled by those groups and used as a tool, as an enforcer for decades and decades and decades and decades. And as an example, by the way, I saw on one of the channels on Telegram this morning this fragment of an interview of former CIA whistleblower. And let me share with you this short video, by the way. And then you made you made your own judgment. Just look at it.
Epstein was working on the behalf of Israel intelligence. They know, I mean, just the fact that Ehud Barak was at his apartment and working in his office all the time, was his handler.
Yeah.
All the stuff with, even with Robert Maxwell and Ghislaine Maxwell.
Right.
Like it's so obvious in plain sight. My question is, why can't Trump admit that?
Nobody wants to talk about Israel.
Right.
Nobody wants to have that conversation. I joined the CIA in 1990, and literally on my first day, we were warned about Israeli espionage against the United States. The FBI identified 187 Israeli spies in the United States.
FBI identified 187 Israeli spies in US. And you think what happened to these spies? You guessed it correctly. Nothing.
87. That was an FBI number. And where were they? They had infiltrated American defense contractors all across the country. But they're Israeli, so nobody does anything about it.
Yeah. That's it, man. That's it. So, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, a significant number of our community, by the way, are from US. And can you imagine in how difficult situation those people are? Members of our community that are US citizens. I mean, they know they lost the country. They want their country to serve their best interests, right? They want to serve their country, their communities, and they want their country to give them back the same attitude, right? To serve the people. protect the people and protect the interests of the people. How they gonna achieve this, man? How Americans gonna reclaim their own country when whole freaking system is, against the people? Everything is against the people in US, man. Literally everything. What they gonna do, man? I don't know. Do they even have a chance to reclaim their country? I don't know. I honestly don't know, man. They might try. They are trying. They are trying, man. This America First movement, in my understanding, is definitely attempt of people of America, not just from right side of aisle, but also centrists and even left side of aisle, to reclaim their own country, to deal with this corrupt system, but they are failing, man. They are failing. You know? I don't know. Let's continue, dear friends, with some other news and few more news, and let's have a conversation for a little while. Big community chat is tomorrow, big community chat and fundraising stream. Today, let's just exchange opinions for like 15-20 minutes. It's a Saturday, isn't it? So on Saturdays, we can have also exchange of opinions if you want to, obviously. TASS News Agency is reporting that Trump stated that he had decided on his course of the action regarding the Venezuela. Okay, so U.S. President Donald Trump said he has formed an opinion on the actions Washington should take regarding the Venezuela. I cannot tell you what it is, but I have formed my opinion, Trump said while answering the question from the reporters on the board of his plane en route to Florida. And well, what is the best way, traditional even way, for Western elites to divert attention of the public from their critical points or critical topics? War, by the way, war, correct? And that's exactly what Washington gonna do. That's exactly what White House gonna do. They're gonna start a war. And yeah, they are right there already, and they might start this war against Venezuela, and then against Cuba, potentially against other countries, literally at any given point. And they will try to shut up the public this way, while starting a war, and they will tell them, everybody, you know what, we are engaged in war. You know what you are talking about. You want Epstein files to be released? Are you out of your mind? It's a war, man. No time for some internal discussions now. Let's deal with external enemies, and it will work. They will force many people to keep quiet. This works always. That's what Western elites always do. When they facing some challenges that they cannot overcome, usually what they do is they try to focus public's attention on some foreign issue, right? On some issue outside of the domestic political kitchen, let's say, and it works. It works always. And they're gonna start a war. Probably it will work this time around too. And they will force many, probably yes, it will work out this time also, but yet again, America, people in America, especially, by the way, Europe is a bit different story. I don't really see in Europe figures, these powerful figures on a European scale as we see in America, right? In America, there is quite a number of people, by the way. Dave Smith, Tucker Carlson, Candice Owens, some others, right? That are from a conservative or America First side that are making the waves. In Europe, there is no such a thing, isn't it? In Europe, there is nothing like that. In none of the European countries, actually. Right? There might be some bloggers, some citizen journalists that doing their thing, but they are nowhere as big as Tucker Carlson is, for example, in the US, right? So in Europe, I don't really expect any changes to happen. But US, man, I don't know. Even if Washington, not you, but even when Washington starts the war against Venezuela, they're going to attack Cuba too. I'm quite sure about it. Even when Washington initiates these wars, maybe those people, those America First people, will not stop. And maybe they will continue to fight, man. You know? While telling people that, you know what? I mean, yes, there is a war, by the way, that war that should never happen in the first place. In case of Venezuela, Washington is talking about drugs. There is even Washington themselves. I mean, these U.S. officials themselves are saying that only like 3% of cocaine or whatever drugs are related one way or another to Venezuela. And most of the drugs are going into U.S. through Mexico. So there was never reason to start a war against Venezuela. Those people, man, Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith, Candice Owens, and others, they might not stop, man. Even if Washington tries, or even when Washington launches the wars, you know. Maybe this time around the opposite will happen, and these wars will accelerate this fight of American people against the system. I don't know, but let's see. Some very interesting developments are ahead of. TASS news agency, meanwhile, is reporting that Latin American states preparing response to possible U.S. aggression against Venezuela. So several Latin American countries are discussing the possibility of preparing a joint declaration condemning U.S. aggressive actions against Venezuela. Brazil's All Portal reported, citing unnamed diplomats from the countries in the region. And first of all, countries that might join this resolution are Brazil, Colombia, and Mexico. And you know what? Yes, declaration and resolutions and this and that is all good. Yeah, okay. But will it stop Washington? Nah, it's not gonna stop Washington, isn't it? But anyways, if countries in Latin America will get unite, try at least to get unite and protect each other from Washington, that will be a good move anyways, right? They're not gonna stop aggression, but or they're not gonna deter U.S. leadership to attack, but more united these countries are, probably less and less appetite there will be in Washington to attack them, I guess. But let's see. Right now, it looks very unlikely that Latin American countries will somehow influence Washington to stop from aggression against yet again Venezuela and also Cuba. By the way, I'm quite sure this buildup of military in the Caribbean is it's not only linked to Venezuela, but I think one of the plans of the U.S. leadership is to attack Cuba too, under pretext of this fight against drug cartels or whatever. They can come up with any reason, right? Really. Meanwhile, by the way, there is some escalation between China and Japan, and China issued a very strong warning against Japan with quite a strong language, which is rare stuff. I mean, usually statements of Chinese state institutions, officials are quite measured, but this time around, well, things are different. So Japan will suffer a crushing defeat at the hands of the iron will of their People's Liberation Army, stated Chinese Defense Ministry spokesman Jing Bin. China has threatened Japan with a crushing defeat if it intervenes forcefully in the Taiwan issue. As the Chinese Defense Ministry spokesman Qing Bing stated, the Japanese self-defense forces will pay a heavy price if Tokyo decides to support Taipei with a military force. The Chinese representative stressed that Japan should remember the lessons of its own history and not take unnecessary risks in defending Taiwan. Otherwise, it will suffer crushing defeat. And yeah, this is strong, man. This is strong stuff. There was earlier reports that Japan might send its military contingent on one of the islands controlled by Taipei. And of course, Beijing not gonna like this stuff. And yet again, this strong language of China towards Japan should be seen as also warning to US too, because Japan is a US colony, isn't it? Japan does literally nothing on terms of foreign policy without US authorization or US order even. So therefore, these strong words from China is not just about Japan, but about US too. So Beijing is quite effectively saying that US will suffer crushing defeat if they will intervene in Taiwan issue militarily, if it comes to some military action. But yet again, when it comes to Taiwan, by the way, I don't think China really wants to go ahead with their military operation there, because they have all the time they need, man, right, to deal with Taiwanese situation. They have all the time they need. So why would they accelerate any processes? No, they neither. What China is focused on and should be focused on is to gain more and more time in regards to confrontation with the US. That's the big issue, right? But when it comes to Taiwan, it's not even an issue. Beijing can wait for another decade or 2 decades, 3 decades. Eventually, Taiwan will join China anyways. And I don't think there is any necessity for China right now to actually conduct military operation. After all, majority of people in Taiwan are Chinese people, right? They are Chinese people. There is no such a thing as a Taiwanese ethnic group, right? It's a Chinese people. Majority are Chinese, vast majority. So what they're gonna say now? They are no longer Chinese, and they are now, like it happened in Ukraine, they're gonna push on the political Taiwanism or something like that. They're gonna declare themselves ethnic Taiwanese or something. No, man, right? So therefore, Beijing has all the time they want in case of Taiwan, but they have no time in case of US. So Beijing should be more focused to deal with the US, not Taiwan. And therefore, if anything happens there, by the way, only because it will be provoked by US. The US will provoke, or try at least, to provoke confrontation, military hostilities between Beijing and Taipei. If anything gonna happen there, just because US, Western ruling elites wanted to and provoked. Because yet again, for Beijing, man, it's only a matter of time and Taiwan will be reconciled, reunited with the mainland China anyways, right? So, yeah, quite strong language there from China towards not just Japan, but US too. And when it comes to Japan, by the way, well, as I said there, this is our occupied country. colonized country by US in this particular case. And I guess Washington demanded from Tokyo to come up with the initiative that they dream about US nuclear weapons on their soil. And that's exactly what is happening. New Prime Minister of Japan now supports their deployment of US nuclear weapons in the country. Manichi, a newspaper, reports, according to the publication, Sanae Takashi, that's name of prime minister, plans to start discussions on the possibility of revising their current free non-nuclear principles, non-possessing, non-producing, and not deploying nuclear weapons on Japanese territory. And all this in regards to allowing US to have not just a basis on Japanese islands, but also to keep some nuclear weapons there. And that's exactly what is going to happen. This information, this initiative is absolutely Washington's initiative. And therefore, what's going to stop Pentagon or Washington to deploy their nukes? Nothing, right? Japanese people should think about it, protest if they can, because Japan will begin hosting nuclear weapons. Russia, North Korea, and China are going to direct their nuclear missiles on Japanese cities, right? Because of the nukes on Japanese territory. If Japan has no nukes, there is no need either for Russia or for China or for North Korea to target Japan with the nukes. No need for that. But if they are hosting nukes, then yes, that changes their lot, right? So Japanese people should wake up, should wake up and demand their nuclear-free. Demand from government that Japan maintains a status of free from nuclear weapons. Otherwise, some retaliatory steps will be taken by other countries. And also, I will end this new segment, dear friends, on this information that US intends to push Russian gas out of the EU to the last molecule. This was reported by Financial Times that US officials have traveled to European countries to promote American energy sources over Russian fuel. The newspaper's sources added that Washington intends to expel Russian gas from the European Union to the last molecule. How you say in English molecule? How it gonna sound? Molecule. Anyways. So yes, this process is already underway. Of course, U.S. quite effectively, especially after destroying Nord Stream pipelines, right, and forcing Europe to come up with thousands and thousands of sanctions, including on Russian energy sector. Well, U.S. is getting closer and closer to the point when there will be not a single cubic meter of Russian gas or not a single barrel of Russian oil or oil products in Europe. And, okay. I mean, U.S. is doing some sort of a favor, even if you think about to Russia, while forcing Europeans to destroy relationships with the Russian side, economical relationships, including in energy field, because that will force Russian energy majors, all Russian businesses basically to forget about existence of Europe and focus on other markets. And world is big, man. World is massive, right? There is a lot of ways to expand your business if you want to. And I think this is eventually, after some time, this will serve Russia better because, European elites already demonstrated that they cannot be trusted, and they can force European companies to cut business with Russian side at will. So it is extremely risky to have a business with Europe. at this point, it's even irresponsible to have a business with Europe, right? So therefore, US, in some strange ways, actually doing some favor for Russia. It might hurt now that Russia lost the European market, but in the long run, it will actually serve Russia better because Russian economy will be very, very much diverse than it was before 2014 coup d'etat in Kiev, right? Western orchestrated coup d'etat, after which, of course, Western went all in this proxy war against Russia, while introducing these thousands and thousands of sanctions. So, okay, by the way, I mean, Europe gonna suffer big time if they will only be dependent on significantly more expensive energy sources from US or any other side. Russia was a stable, reliable partner in this regard for decades and decades and decades, by the way, since the Soviet era, right? But yet again, this is their decision. This is their decision, and okay, eventually, Russia will do okay. But can I say this about European economies too? No, not really, because those European economies gonna go down very badly, man. Process is already underway, and this process of deindustrialization will only accelerate. There is no other ways there, right? And this is it for now. I checked live chat on Rumble, and there is no super chat there, dear friends. To respond to, let me check Boosting. So there was no question, no commentary on Boosty, correct? And yes, and if there was any comment or question through PayPal, Anya, my wife, would send me what screenshot. It's her PayPal, right? Not mine. But yes, there is no screenshot. So therefore, I will join community chat now, dear friends, for a little while. I will just remind you that if you like the video, if new segment was interesting enough for you, please click that like button and leave some commentary. This might help to deal with the algorithm. And yeah, if you want to support my work, you can do it through PayPal, through Boosty platforms. You can subscribe to my Patreon page, on my page on Boosty, where I have extra content on regular basis. And also, there is a super chat or rant feature, of course, on Rumble. There is a premium subscription option on Rumble, and there are also crypto. All the links, everything is under this video in description box, dear friends. And now let me go through chat. If I see any question, I will react on it. Question that is directed to me, of course. So let's scroll. I remind you that tomorrow we're gonna have a big community chat. Big community chat and fundraising stream. Hopefully it will work out good there. Let's see. So, oh, there might be no question directed to me. I love to see that community members are actively engaged in exchange of opinions. It's really great. So that makes me happy. I don't really need no questions, as long as you are happy with the platform, with with programs, and are actively engaged in exchange of opinions. It's all good. Interesting comment also from Jabiru Joe. You are not allowed to criticize Trump these days, otherwise, you are accused of having Trump derangement syndrome. These people are nuts. Well, I mean, who can say that this is not the case? To criticize Trump, to criticize this Israel first group that is in charge in US is becoming, yes, I mean, dangerous even, sort of, because I don't want to speculate about what actually happened with Charlie Kirk and why it happened, but clearly he was not happy with the Israel first group that pretend to be America first, right? And he was kind of planning to distance himself from Israeli lobby. Even lost a big time, big time sponsor, pro-Israeli sponsor, right? And he himself was talking about it in a messaging that Candace Owens released. Pro-Israeli channel, pro-Israeli source, Babylon B or something, published quite a nasty, threatening post in regards to Meghan Kelly, even that Meghan Kelly wants to get rid of old pager to save the life or something in this regard. Then this Babylon B deleted the message, but it was a very cringe stuff, man. Very cringe stuff. It was, I mean, how was you gonna see it other than direct threat to Meghan Kelly? And Meghan Kelly is not as open and direct as Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson or others, by the way. Dave Smith, for example, when it comes to criticism of influence of Israeli lobby or criticism of Israeli actions and so on, right? And even she was targeted this way. I mean, she was threatened. This Babylon B, basically, that maybe receives money from Israeli lobbies or something like that, maybe linked to Israeli secret services. I don't know. But this was not normal, man, to target Meghan Kelly this way. Strange stuff there, right? So yes, it's not just becoming dangerous because you're gonna be to criticize this Israel first force in American elites, in American ruling class. It's not just becoming inconvenient because you might be called all sorts of names, but you might get targeted actually, and you might get killed, man. So I can understand what you're talking about. Mickey is also commenting, MAGA needs to break away from Trump and both parties. There is no America first at all in the political arena. I agree with you, Mickey. I agree with you. I think this is eventually, that's exactly what is going to happen. America first force probably will break away from Trump. Some might argue that Trump is, leader of the MAGA movement. Trump generated this whole movement and stuff. And yes, there is true in that also in some ways, right? But nevertheless, America first people gonna act based on current realities. Movement is there, demand is there, but what is also clear, as you said, there is no America first in the political arena. So therefore, what else? What are other choice these people have? America first people on all sides of aisle. To maybe to, I don't know, man. There was many attempts to create third party. Many attempts. Maybe they need a third party or something, People's Party or something. No, People's Party looks leftist. Call it whatever, call it something neutral. Create third party, man. Because demand is clearly there, man. And as in UK, for example, UK Reform UK is demolishing Labours and Conservatives. This may be a third party in US will do the same. Although this third party have to be led and have to be focused actually on America first, because when it comes to Europe, by the way, there is all sorts of opinions how independent those alternative parties that pop up lately are from the globalists, right? From influential shadow forces, either in UK or in Germany, in case of AFD, or in France, by the way, or elsewhere. But idea itself is working, isn't it? Even if Reform UK, let's say, is a part of a game plan of globalists, people supporting it, ordinary people don't think in these ways, right? They see some alternative. They are not really going deep into analyzing the situation. They know they are not happy with conservatives. They are not happy with their Labours. So there is a Reform UK. Okay, I'll go this way then. Many people do operate this way, right? But system is working. Therefore, if people were thinking, and if there was evidences that Reform UK is financed and linked to globalists, maybe they would not have this much support. And probably they would not have this much support, right? And there is a rumors that this is exactly the case, but majority is not believing in that. So therefore, they have majority support. But yet again, idea itself that third party can actually challenge dominant mainstream parties is working. So maybe America First people will come up with a third party, but they have to make sure that this party is actually theirs and not and from shadow neocons and globalists and all the others are not pulling the strings there too, which is, difficult to know, man. Difficult to know, because maybe very same globalists and Zionists and neocons are behind their certain figures in America First movement also that are challenging current system, right? And maybe they've been supported and financed by, let's say, deep state exactly for a case when situation will go so bad that some third party situation might need to be created to keep situation under control, right? And so yes, it's going to be very difficult to make sure that this party is actually serving you, this third party or alternative party, but try at least, you know. Kate Fellers is commenting, Pete Hexed needs to put down the bottle and stop snorting cocaine. Fact. Yes, I mean, I don't know how actively he's using that powder, but rumors are that he is a quite heavy drinker, and yeah, it would be better for him if he will act a little more adequately. But anyways, I mean, Pete Hexet as a defense secretary is a circus, isn't it? It's a circus, man. Defense ministry, or they call it now War Department, isn't it? They can call it anything they want, but this institution have to be led by serious people, not some clowns, man. That Pet Hexet is. Come on, man. That guy, even probably he did not read like 2 books in his life, and I'm not exaggerating. I don't think he has even good like school level education, and he's like head of defense ministry. This War Department basically is defense ministry, isn't it? It's not normal. It's not. It should not be okay, man. When these stupid elements being chosen for different very important roles, but that's the reality of the Western world in general. You have a main diplomat in Europe, Kaya Kallas, by the way. I mean, probably you have not met her, someone more stupid than she is, right? Literally, I mean, just it's like a freaking wall, man. No any more intelligent than wall. And she is number 1 diplomat in Europe. So it's crazy. Well, you cannot make this stuff up, man. It's just too crazy, you know. Anyways, dear friends, let's end this live stream on that. Oh, there was a super chat right now on Rumble, dear friends. Let me highlight super chat from Scooby. So this is from Scooby, super chat on Rumble, and Scooby is thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and $5 donation. And comment is that what happens when you lower interest rate while the economy is at 2% unemployment and already experiencing some wage push inflation? Russia has no room to move on a rate adjustment. Scooby is commenting, well, we are in a situation, isn't it? We are in a situation. Central bank economical bloc did try hard to cool down economy, exactly because, and one of the reasons is that there is significant lack of workforce, isn't it? And we are observing big influx of migrant workers. Big influx, by the way. From different parts of the world, and lately from global south, by the way. I will not go into details. More information is needed, but you can see it visually. This might help. This might and most likely will help economy if more people will come to Russia for work from other countries, not just from like Central Asia. I mean, this Central Asia is traditional supplier of workforce for Russian economy, but from other parts of the world too, right? Because yet again, economy needs more people. In this regard, you might find very different opinions here in Russia. Some are very hostile towards migrant workers. Some are not. But fact is that economy needs more people. Economy just needs more people. And I agree with you absolutely. You're not going to be able to drop interest rates until you be able to balance it out, isn't it? Demand and supply. Only when you are sure that your economy can balance this out, you can drop interest rate. Otherwise, you're going to have a high inflation. You're not going to be able to keep inflation under the double digits. So therefore, and that is the probably reason why Russian central bank, despite the expectations of many, did not went ahead to drop interest rate till, some was even saying that central bank might drop it to like 12% from 21 that was in the beginning of the year. It was 21, isn't it? Now it's 16.5, I believe. So I agree with you. We are in a situation. And the high interest rate probably will stay there next year too. Let's see how this new influx of migrant workers gonna influence the economical situation, and also adaptation of new technologies, AI, for example, and the rest makes possible to release certain workforce from certain areas, right? So that those people will join economy in somewhere else. So AI may actually become very helpful. AI and robotization, very helpful to free workforce, right, in certain segments of economy and redirect it where it's most needed. But in any case, this is time-consuming stuff, of course, and therefore, next year, best I can expect is interest rates to be dropped. I mean, that is, in my personal opinion, best case scenario for next year is interest rates to drop to maybe 13. I mean, maybe this is even too optimistic, but maybe to 13%. 12% will be extremely optimistic, right? 14, yes, most likely it will reach 14% from current 16.5. But anything less than 14, it's will be extremely optimistic forecast. So let's see. I mean, we are facing issue. I mean, this is for sure. And if anyone says otherwise, that means that they did not read enough on the subject and are just poorly informed, or maybe they're just ignoring some very significant moments, including this balance between demand and supply, which is one of the most important stuff, right? When you are talking about free market economy, you have to balance it out somehow. Otherwise you will overheat your economy, as it is the case, as it was and still is the case here in Russia. By the way, Russian economy is still overheated, right? So let's see what is going to happen. But yet again, influx of workforce will allow Russian businesses to produce more, right? And also AI technologies, adoption of AI and robotics will also help to free significant number of workforce from certain areas so that they will be redirected on others. So there is a ways to deal with the situation, but it will take time anyways, right? Years. So therefore, yeah, probably we're not gonna see interest rate lower than 10%, at least for next 2 years. Maybe in 2028, 2029, interest rate will be lower than 10%, 8, 9, 7 maybe, but no earlier than that. Exactly because this problem of overheating and everything that related to it. And yet again, this is what I understand. I'm not an economist, but I do read whenever I come across some stuff about all this situation. And I'm gonna tell you, man, I was quite critical of Nabiullina, head of central bank, but after 2022, I refuse to criticize her. After 2022, by the way, when we see that West tremendously increased their pressure on Russia on unbelievable scale, right? And nevertheless, Russian economy is withstanding and doing quite okay, man. If you take in account what West is doing, how much they try to destroy economy, and when you see economy is still standing strong, right? People are working, make a living, right? It's not everything is easy. Obviously, we ordinary people are. It's a hustle, right? It's an everyday hustle to survive, to live. But nevertheless, we are doing our best, and the economy stands there. Country is strong, society is united, and well. I refuse to criticize Nabiullina no more, man, because economy is withstanding because of the policies of the central bank and economical bloc, right? They are doing something right. Because I'm not quite sure German economy will do as well as Russian economy did under this pressure. I really don't. I'm not sure that German economy or economy of UK or the France will do any better than Russian economy in this situation. They will probably collapse by now, big time. So it is what it is. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and donation, for sharing your opinion. And this is it for now, dear friends. Let me end the live stream on that. Once again, before I go, in case you want to support my work, all the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. If you like the video itself, or if you like the live stream, please click that like button. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful Saturday. Have a great Sunday, by the way. Have a great weekend, and take care. See you tomorrow. And thank you very much.